out there.
Hello,
Okay,
everyone.
go ahead. You go live.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Ted and Ed, Money Connections TV show. We're coming to you on a weekly basis to bring to you some conversation of things that we want to talk about. Our motto for our blog and our website is follow the money. And we're going to start off with this conversation regarding our show on several different topics, headlines. We're going to talk about politics. We're going to talk about some business, and we're going to talk about our community. How you doing, Ed, today?
I am doing great, Ted. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You know, I'm here in Tampa, and you're over in Georgia. And although we are distance apart, yet still we still can connect with each other. So I'm looking forward to these weekly conversations. What about yourself?
Oh man, this is great. I We started out doing this the early part of the year in January, doing interviews with all of our authors, and for some reason or another, we got into a kind of a doldrum and we stopped broadcasting. So right now, we want to let our audience know that we're going to be doing this every week. So we're looking forward to having them to follow us and look for us on YouTube, and we hope that whatever we talk about on these weekly broadcasts will be very, very insightful to our audience and to the people who are going to be following us. So,
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And we want their input as well because, you know, we don't have all the solutions and all the answers, but we do have a lot of questions, you know, and a lot of concerns. But going back to our first topic today, as far as our headlines, two of the things that's on my mind that I've been just really sort of kind of puzzled by. And it's two companies that I'm concerned about. And one is Foxconn. I'm sure some of the listeners have seen this company on TV, maybe heard about it. It's a company that's originated from out of China. And my understanding is that they have over 1.6 million employees. Now, uh, Foxconn is, in my mind, is an employment agency because what they do is they hire low-wage people all over the world, and they put them in positions to work for major corporations. One of the major corporations that they really work for, Foxconn, is Apple. Now, Foxconn has over 250,000 people that's working for Apple. That's over in China. And then they have other people in other countries around the world also working for Apple. And they do all the hiring, all the firing, and, but then still they're making a lot of products for Apple. Um, Now, recently they're saying they're going to invest roughly $10 billion in Wisconsin to build this plant. Now, the one thing that what I found out is that they plan on hiring about 3,000, and then down the road maybe another 10,000 with this company in Wisconsin. But the numbers say that for those people that's going to be working there, it's going to cost each taxpayer household, basically $265,000 in Wisconsin, and that's gonna each employee is going to cost the taxpayer $1 million. Now, the thing is that all of this money, because what they're doing is giving them all these tax breaks to come in and build a factory and what have you. They're going to invest $10 billion, but Wisconsin is going to invest a lot more, and it's just for 3,000 jobs. 3,000 jobs at this time. Now, my question is this. Now, Ed, maybe you might have some insight on this, because I know that you're a big Apple follower. Excuse me. The one thing that I found out, they have these 250,000 people that's working over in China. Some of them are working for $5 a day. Some of them, working for $1 an hour or less. So why is this is not capitalism to me? This is pretty close to slavery, as far as the way they treat people over in China, building phones and TV sets and what have you. What are your views on that?
Well, Ted, while you were talking there, I was doing some background on Foxconn, and actually Foxconn is a Taiwanese multinational company, and they're headquartered in New Taipei, Taiwan. But they, like you said, they do have different subsidiaries that are in other Far Eastern countries, and one of them is China. And they also have subsidiaries and stuff in South Korea also. So, but anyway, they have since they gotten contract with Apple, and Apple is one of the richest companies and stuff in the world right now. As a matter of fact, they are probably looking forward to being probably the first $1 trillion company here real soon. The stock market has really did them very well, but Foxconn has a lot of things going for themselves, and they're making a lot of money off of Apple, but they also are using very cheap slave labor to produce Apple's phones. Well, about 2 or 3 years ago, Apple was really concerned about, because of the public media out there talking about it, and they were really giving Apple a hard time because they were having their phones produced by slave laborers. And what we meant by slave laborers and stuff, then what Foxconn did is that they have huge complexes and stuff where people, their workers and stuff, live at, and they were living in very deplorable conditions, and they only paid them pennies on a dollar to produce Apple's phones and their iPads and their iPods and all the other things that Apple produces out there and stuff for us. And they are produced at a very cheap rate, but they send them over there to this country and stuff, and we're paying premium prices and everything and stuff for them. So Foxconn, the intermediaries, and Apple all are making huge profits and stuff from all of this slave labor. Well, because of what had happened and stuff with the media and stuff, then Apple had decided to take some of their production away from Foxconn and give it to some companies here in the United States. And they were talking about having a plant there in Texas and stuff to start producing some of their products. But the idea that they have all that stuff going on and that Apple hasn't really divested themselves and stuff from them, and they are continuing to make Apple's very highly respected phones or whatever, the iPhones that are coming out, and Apple makes huge profits and stuff off these iPhones. Because the news media had a big outcry because of the slave labor, they have cut back a little bit, but Foxconn is still a very powerful company out there.
Yeah, they are a very powerful company because while you were talking, I was just looking here, and they also have other clients as well, like BlackBerry, iPad, iPhone. They have Kindle. They have Nintendo. They have PlayStation. I mean, they have a number of different types of clients all over the country,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of American companies that they do business with.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you think about that, they're bringing in people. That's why they get these people are trained. They have to train them to do this type of work. And so therefore, if they're working for an American company, the American company, what they call nowadays, you know, a corporation, international corporation, they go overseas. That's what's been going on for the past 40 years. A lot of these companies around in the United States, they take a lot of their headquarters and go overseas and build factories over there so they can build their products over there a lot cheaper because of the labor. Excuse me. Now, some of these people say because of the taxes, because they're paying 12% tax, 15% taxes. But I think the big thing is the labor, because when you can get by instead of paying someone a living wage like $15, $20 an hour, they can get by paying people far less than that. The taxes might be one thing, and that's a benefit for the corporations, and it's a capitalist society, I understand that. But the thing is that they bring their products here and they sell a lot of products here and make a lot of money off of the consumers here in America, but they're not doing the job. Now, the one thing now, you know, a lot of people might say, I've been saying this for years, you know, they should have stopped all of that going overseas years ago. But that started way back in 1984, and they've been doing it ever since. And they're going to keep on doing it as long as they got cheap labor, as long as they have cheap labor, as well as they have the taxes that are so low. And it's hurting as far as jobs, you know, quality jobs, because as you know, almost everything now is technology.
Yeah, you're right. But you're looking at what's going on now. Foxconn announced that they were going to build that $10 billion plant there in Wisconsin. I think it's supposed to be somewhere up there around Green Bay. And they just announced that they are doing it. When companies like Foxconn do things like that, you have to wonder and stuff what's going on and why they are bringing some manufacturing and stuff over here. Now, if what they're saying is true and that they're going to bring that here, it's going to be a bond for a lot of laborers out there. I'm not talking about people who are going to actually work in the plant. I'm talking about people who will actually build that plant, because if you're spending $10 billion to build a company, then you're looking at your construction worker and probably a tax base out there that the state of Wisconsin can have to bring more monies and stuff back into their pockets. But normally what happens with Wisconsin being a Republican governor, they've already given them all kinds of tax breaks and everything to probably bring that plant there to Wisconsin. So they're losing money and stuff as far as the infrastructure is concerned. They're going to have to provide them with water, roads for the plant, and electricity and all of that. And that money that is being spent for all that infrastructure is on the backs of the people in Wisconsin.
Absolutely.
So they're hoping that all this is going to bring a boom to us, but what is it going to cost the citizenry of Wisconsin? What is it going to cost the people and their taxes? They're talking about lowering. We're going to lower the companies' taxes when they come in here. We're going to give them all this to bring these companies and stuff here, and the return and stuff to the state of Wisconsin is minimal, because we don't have any idea what this company is going to be doing. Are they going to put the plant there and bring automated machines in there to produce the electronics and stuff that they want to have? So that means that if that place is 90% machinery, you're only talking about maybe at the most 1,000 people. And you're talking about investing a lot of your already money and losing that tax base and everything for them to be there, just so maybe 800 or 900 people can have a job. And then how much are they going to pay them?
That's right.
I don't know.
Well, they claim that the average salary would be right around $54,000 a year. That's the average salary.
They claim.
That's what they claim.
Okay.
You know, so now the reason why I brought this up is that now here's a international company that's coming here. Now they're going to be making profits. That money is not going to stay here. That money is going back overseas. It's not going to stay in America. It's going to be, and then I can almost guarantee you that they won't be banking in with an American company. Those funds are going to be taken out. All those profits is going to be taken out. Whatever they sell, whatever they produce is going to be taken out. And that's on a grander scale when you're talking about a multi-billion dollar company.
Yeah, you have to look at the details of the monster. You know, what's going on out there, what is really actually going to happen when you get this. It looks good when you have the president or the governor of Wisconsin saying, yes, we negotiated a big deal with Foxconn to bring a plant here to Wisconsin. But the devil is in the details. What are those details going to be? And even with those salaries that they're talking about getting $54,000, are they including the salaries and stuff of all the executives and stuff who are probably going to be foreigners who are coming over here making those salaries and everything? And by the time you include their salaries and stuff into that, and you got all those people there, and the bulk of the money is going to your executives, the people in there are not making actually making $54,000 a year, who's actually doing all the work. So
absolutely. Well, I just wanted to bring those are my hot box subject matters, you know, as far as Apple and Foxconn. And because, you know, you can actually bring it to a smaller scale. You know, it's just like if someone comes into your community and opens up a business, but the thing is that they don't invest in the community. You know, they can be from another state. They can be from Texas or anywhere and come here in Tampa or anywhere, any small city, and open up a business, but they take those profits out. They make the products and they might hire a few people, you know, but the thing is that those profits are gone. They're left. They're not in the community. And that's what hurts the community, because those dollars are gone. One of the things that, you know, getting off on our next topic, you know, the thing that I'm sure that you're aware of, you know, it's some crazy politics that's going on right now. Just to sort of kind of, because it's all about following the money. It's all about following the money. And, you know, when you're following the money, then you know. So let me ask you something. What is your hot buttons as far as this politics, as far as following the money? Because I can say a lot of things, you know, as far as following the money, because it's crazy out there now, because there's so many people that are just whacking in the cash. You know, these politicians and they you know, they doling out money here and there. What is your hot button out there now today?
Well, my biggest hot button item out there is something that's been going on since probably February, when the House of Representatives started negotiating this repeal and replace for the Affordable Care Act. Well, you're talking about a program that covers 1/6 of your economy. And our economy is something running anywhere between $15 to $18 trillion. We're talking $1 trillion, not million, $1 trillion.
We're closer
And
to trillion. We're closer to 20 trillion now.
oh, okay. Well, 20 trillion. Okay. Well, you're talking 1/6 of that economy is involved with healthcare.
Yep.
And when the House first started talking about that, and they were negotiating the repeal and replacement of the Affordable Care Act, they were really, really, really pounding and stuff a subject, a program that has so far over the 7 years, 6 or 7 years that has been enacted into this country, and it has become ingrained and stuff into our society. So it was a real hot button item and stuff for a lot of people out there. You're talking about the healthcare industry, you're talking about Medicaid, you're talking about nursing homes, you're talking about the children's insurance and healthcare program. You're talking about rural hospitals. You're talking about clinics. You're talking about Planned Parenthood. All of them receive huge amounts of money and everything through this Affordable Care Act. And the Republicans in the Congress had decided that they were going to repeal this act and they were going to change it. And the changes that they were talking about making, it almost destroyed, it would have destroyed our whole infrastructure that has been built around the Affordable Care Act now. And I don't think a lot of our people, especially in our urban community, understood the impact that their repeal and replace would have on what's going on within their own household. And you're talking about taking almost $1 trillion away from Medicaid. Does anybody understand that Medicaid takes care of a lot of things? It keeps our senior citizens in nursing homes.
Yep.
It makes sure that we have health care for our young people who parents cannot afford health care. It also pays for a lot of home care. Your older citizens and stuff who are getting old, and especially with these baby boomers, they are getting older now. They're getting into their 60s and their 70s and everything, and they are having health problems. And they're having huge amounts of health problems. Well, Medicaid comes in and supplement their insurance because a lot of them did not work a lot when they were growing up and getting to their earning power years or whatever, so they may not have Social Security or Medicare or whatever. But Medicare doesn't take care of all of our health programs and stuff. You have to have a supplemental health care out there to help you to pay for your bills, to offset maybe having a cane or whatever, or a wheelchair that you might need to get around in, or a walker that you may need to get around in, or have, if you want to stay in your home or your apartment, you want someone to come in and help you, because when you start getting into your 60s and 70s, you can't do what you did in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. You need people to come in there to help you. So this Medicaid expansion was paying for all of that. Well, if you're taking away almost $1 trillion out of that process, and then in turn saying that, okay, we're going to give this money back for tax breaks to companies, it doesn't bode well and everything for this country, because if your parent can't stay in the nursing home or they don't have the services that they need, what's going to happen to them? And that's why you saw on television after the House really actually passed that bill, because everyone thought after they had failed the first time that it wasn't going to pass, and all of a sudden in the dead of night and the midnight when everybody sleep, they slipped in and passed this act and everything. So okay, we did our part, and the president comes up there and has a big signing thing. Oh, okay, yeah, we're going to, we done already did this repeal and replace, but what are we getting in return?
Nothing.
Nothing. So that is my really hot button item, and I'm glad to see that there was a couple of people there in the Senate who really actually killed that bill and everything, and did not allow it to pass in the Senate. So It has not become act. Obama. Well, I don't like to call Obamacare. It is the Affordable Care Act, and I don't want to get into why it's called Obamacare, but that's a long story there. But anyway, it has so far right now taken away the Republicans repeal and replace part of what they wanted to do and what they've been campaigning on for about 8 years and stuff to get rid of this thing. So most of our senior citizens are safe now so far, but we have to still be aware that there are things that's coming down the pipes, and this tax cut. They're talking about going in there and taking away some of the monies and stuff from Medicaid anyway through the tax cut system. So we have to fight just as hard on this tax cut thing as we did with the Healthcare Act, the Affordable Healthcare Act and stuff, and stopping that from repealing and replacing that. But in the interim and stuff, it has to be, something has to be done to make sure that it's built up and it's a system and stuff that is there. So there are problems and stuff with it, and they have to be fixed. And if we don't fix those problems, and it's going to be that gloom and doom thing that everybody's talking about, well, it's going to fall apart. Well, it is if something is not done about it. But you have found now that there have been say 40 or 50 Republican in the House of Congress folks and stuff and everything, along with some Democrats who are talking about doing something to help fix it. But you don't find the Republican leadership and everything who are really endorsing what they're doing. So I'm hoping that those few senators and House representatives and stuff keep on going to try to do something to offset those problems and stuff that they're having in the Affordable Care Act. And if they don't do it and stuff, we're going to find out that that system and stuff is going to be really bad. But I also wanted to let the audience and stuff know that when you start talking about your health care and what is going on and where all this money and stuff that they're talking about, because 50% of that money and everything is not going to take care of the patients and stuff out there, or the children, and paying their health care insurance costs or whatever. And I'm hoping that some of them will look around and look at the huge amounts of money and stuff that this healthcare has caused, and the billionaires that are getting richer and stuff, and people who are millionaires are turning into billionaires and stuff because of all that money that they have passed down through the Affordable Health Care Act. There's a lot of money out there that they're spending and stuff. Huge amounts of money and stuff. You got these new healthcare complexes and stuff, all modern stuff and everything in there. And where did that money come from? It came from the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah. Sure. Well, the money is there. And so they spend it. They're not spending it all on where it needs to go. I mean, if you really follow that money, a lot of people are still being left out for those that really need it. I mean, if you really look at it, because, they're going to try to, they're going to have their luxurious offices and what have you, just like the government. They're going to have their, the senators and congressmen, they have their, 5,000 or, 2,500 square foot offices and all of that. So, and that's all tax. A lot of that stuff is taxpayer money. A matter of fact, all of it is taxpayer money. That money that comes in is earmarked for those people. And a lot of people paid into Medicare, just like a lot of people paid in Social Security. Those are not freebies. Those are something that we've all paid into.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have some people, they might spend more than what they put in, but but when a person, the way we're supposed to be as Americans, in my mind, those people that are unable to take care of themselves, those people that are unable to get around, it's our job to help them. So therefore, that's the reason why the taxes might be a little bit higher than other countries, because that's our system. Now, one of the major things that what people are trying, what they really want is, what do you call that? That single payer. That is
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that people are really fighting for. Then that way, everybody's on the same level. Now that'll wipe out all the insurance companies. You got these insurance companies, health insurance companies, executives making 20 million a year and with all kinds of benefits and what have you. And nobody grudging them from making 20 million, but that's coming out of the tax. Those are taxpayer dollars. A lot of that money, extra money that they've been getting for the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them have been making that money out for a long time because they still have to have insurance because they have to go through Medicaid for some of
Mm-hmm.
these insurance companies. So,
Well, the first thing that we might have to worry about is that anything that they enact is going to have some problems. I don't care if you have the Affordable Care Act, or you are repealing and trying to do something else with the money and everything and taking it away, or you're in that single payer uh, realm that some people are talking about, especially Bernie Sanders. He's talking about that single payer. And Republicans and stuff are fighting it because they're saying that's a socialist program. And in the last 10 or 12 years and stuff, when you start saying socialism, it enacts an idea and stuff that we're talking about doing, being a communist country, but it's actually not. It's socialism and stuff, or a social program like Senator Sanders is talking about. It takes care of, like you said, everybody. Everybody's on the same plane. But and he's talking about things that are going on in those European countries and stuff like Switzerland and Denmark and all of them. They have single payer programs and stuff out there for healthcare for its citizenry. Canada has the same thing going on for that single payer thing. Well, their system is not perfect, but they have flaws and stuff in it, but they do give their people quality health care through that single payer program. Well, whatever system that we enact, I think that there should be as much fairness and stuff in there, and that healthcare monies and those dollars and stuff should go to the people and stuff who really actually need it. And like you said, sometimes you find people who got healthcare, and those congressmen up there, they got the Cadillac plans. Cadillac plans, they call it. They got all kinds of stuff. They have the best things in the world. They can do whatever they want to do. And you look at Senator John McCain, he went out and had that surgery and stuff done to find a blockage and stuff there that it's caused him to have cancer, that they found out that he had cancer. Well, anyone else in our urban areas or whatever, they couldn't afford that kind of health care. Not affordable for them. Because in essence, what happens is that, and a lot of people who are in this health, who have health care, you go in there and some of these plans, they don't even start paying for things until you done paid your deductible. And some of those deductibles are huge. I've seen people come into the doctor's office and they have a $5,000 or $6,000 deductible.
Yeah.
And until they write them a check for $5,000 or $6,000, they can't get the service that they need.
Right. If they need
there's a problem to start with it.
So here's the deal, though. I mean, you mentioned John McCain. Every senator and congressman has automatic subsidy on their health care of $10,000. That's in their contract. So they don't have to worry about deductibles. They don't have to worry about that because that's automatically taken care of for them. Like you said, Cadillac. They have the Cadillac insurance. That Cadillac surgery cost over $70,000. So like you said, when your experience going into the doctor's office and somebody needed surgery, they have to pay that $5,000 or $6,000 deductible.
Absolutely. And the fact is that if they don't pay the $5,000 or $6,000, they don't even know what kind of problem they have, because the doctor's going to say, well, but until you pay this, you can't come in, because when he went in, he had no idea that he had cancer and stuff there. But they had to do the surgery to find out that he had cancer. So if you can't pay the $5,000 or $6,000, they can't even start the surgery to even find out, to fix your problem, or to find out if there's another problem that you are having that's causing you even more harm. So if you can't get that service, initial service, you can't find out if there's a serious problem and stuff that you might have. And that is a big problem, and it is something that our Congress and stuff is not really concerned about. They are not focusing upon that. I am, because I see it going on. I'm looking at it every day, walking to the doctor's office, and I'm not sick right now. Hopefully I'll be okay and healthy for a long time, but I do go and get my regular physicals every year, and that's what we need, and that's what the Affordable Care Act allowed us to have. Once a year, you're allowed to have a free physical that is paid for without a deductible. My son, he is 25 years old right now. He is still under my help. I and my wife's health care plan. Those things and stuff are, we became so now that it became something that we cannot let go.
Yeah, it's priceless. I mean,
it's personal, because we found out when he got 24 years old that he was diabetic. Well, before the Affordable Care Act came, he wouldn't have been on our insurance plan.
That's right.
He didn't have insurance, he would have never found out, or could have maybe go to the doctor and to the hospital and all that to take care of his diabetes and everything. So it's
plus he would have had problems with precondition.
Absolutely.
So and they probably would have denied him insurance anyway if he would have went on his own.
Absolutely.
Some of these companies, or either they'll jack up the prices.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. So it's this Affordable Care Act. I praise my president and the Democratic Congress for what they did, and I think a lot of other people out there should do the same thing. And that he enacted a healthcare plan and stuff that a lot of presidents were trying to do, and he was the only one that actually got it done. And for a lot of our senators and Republican congressmen and stuff to try to take this stuff away from people is, is almost sinful.
Yeah,
it's not right. And I guess our country has become so dependent upon money, like we talk about, the money connection, it has become an infection in our governmental, in our politics. It's infectious, because
everything is money.
Everything is money. Everything leads to money. Money, if you send your congressman, he may have the best intentions whatsoever to go to Congress and start doing something for his constituents, but there is so much money floating around.
Hey, those lobbyists are handing out money like it's candy.
They are buying our congressmen, literally buying them. And at what price can they buy you? Well, when you coming in there with a wheelbarrow or a dump truck full of money, at some point, they're going to get bought.
You're going to get suckered in. Because
it is a reality, man.
Everybody like a nice car. You want a nice car. You want a nice home. You want nice clothes. You want to send your kids to college, and they love 180,000 or whatever they're making nowadays, 200,000 almost. That ain't enough. That's not enough. They got to have more money. And so therefore they're gonna yield to temptation.
Yeah, and when you see,
not all of them now, not all of them.
Yeah, not all of them. But when you see a house race, and it happened here in my district.
Yeah,
it happened in my district where house race, and they spent over $60 million to win a house seat that they're only making $175,000. That's the
Yeah.
salary for it. It's only worth $175,000,
And
but you
how long
spent
she gonna have that
$60
position?
million to get to that seat.
How long is she gonna have that position?
1 year.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was the 6th district here in Georgia, and that's where I live at. And you said, and that district and stuff has its own dynamics. It's full of conservative Republicans, and I'm sitting there in a den of conservative Republicans. I'm not going to say I'm a Democrat. I'm independent thinker. I think independently.
Absolutely.
But I'm more lean toward Democrats, but I think independently that there are some good things that the Republicans have to say, and there are a whole lot of bad things they have to say. And the Democrats have to talk about some of the good things. And I'm hoping that, and far as we talking about politics and stuff and the Affordable Care Act and all that, all these things that we're talking about are intertwined together.
Absolutely.
That we have to, if we want to change what's going on in some way. We're not going to change it completely, because no matter what happens and stuff and everything, that money truck is sitting out there looming over that Congress at all times. And
Absolutely.
whether you're a Democrat or Republican or independent or whoever you are, they got enough money to buy you at some point in time. So sometimes your congressman's integrity and stuff really gets in the way of money, but it's not going to happen all the time.
So now when you're talking about money, one thing that strikes me, and we're going to move on to our next topic, is, as far as, now, you and I both, we partially raised in the urban areas in Chicago, and later on in our younger years, our later years, we moved out of Chicago, but we've always had a connection with the inner city, and different cities, LA, Chicago, Atlanta, you name it, Miami, different places across the country. And because we have relatives there and friends and what have you. When you drive through what we call is the Black neighborhoods, and you see so many things that's going on, and you see some progress, and then you see some distresses. And a lot of times, man, it breaks my heart, because it's so many people that are millionaires and billionaires will not invest into the inner city. They, this country wasted basically, on a lie, going to war in Iraq and spent in Afghanistan literally blow $6 trillion. We don't even want to talk about the life and limbs. And that money could have been spent on a greater good as far as uplifting all people. Now, the thing is that those were tax dollars that were spent. And to me, that is a crime. That's just the way I feel about it, because we're talking about mass transit improvements, transportation. We're talking about roads. We're talking, trains and all of those things that, even better schools and all of that. But yet and still, they went over and they're consistently spending enormous amount of money on wars that can be prevented or should have never started. So now my thing is what is your feelings as far as what are some of the solutions that we can come up with And, you know, and I hope our audience get involved, and maybe they might have some opinion. I'm sure they will, and they do have. But what do you think is for some of our solutions? I mean, you know, there are tons of people that's out there that are trying to do some great things in the inner city, and all kinds of organizations are doing great jobs and all that. But there's so many people doing bits here, bits there, and it's not really coming together fully. Now that's where I'm seeing it. And then another problem is that it's capital. It takes money to make money. And you have all of these bright people that's out there with college degrees, engineering degrees. They have there are construction workers, all kinds of people that's ready to do things, but they don't have the capital. Now that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm seeing. You know, when I talk to business people, when I talk to people on the street and what have you, people that want to start their businesses, they need capital. They try to go to the bank. The bank is not doing nothing for them unless you've been in business for 2 years. So to me, you know, that's the issue with me. You know, why aren't all of these people that's out there doing, you know, coming together and really tackling each city have their own unique problems. But I think that if we all came together, people I'm talking about with money, capital to invest. Oh yeah, it's nice. You can go ahead on and invest in Apple, and you can make your, you know, whatever you're making, you know, off of those shares and what have you. But what about the greater good as far as the inner city? Because most of us came from the South, moved to the East Coast or the West Coast in the big cities and the urban areas. And we was raised, because I know my parents came from the South and they migrated to Chicago. So I'm trying to figure out what has happened.
Well, let's get back to your first statement you made about our government spending all that money and stuff on a war, on a unnecessary war, and most of our audience should remember back to where they started at. They started with George W. Bush right after 9/11 in 2001, and his decision to take this country to war. He used a lot of erroneous information and whatever he could to get this country into a war that was not needed. And for whatever reason he did that, that's another story and stuff in itself. But he did that, and now we paid for that whole tenfold. Well, we talking about governmental money and stuff that's going to pay for that war. Well, he convinced the the mass portion of our population that this war was needed. And once he got into the war, we didn't have any other choice but to stay right there. There was no choice at all. And like you said, there was a lot of money and stuff that was spent and stuff on that war that was unnecessary. Well, you've only had a few congressmen and stuff who voted against that war, and one of them was our past president. He voted against the war. He did not say it because he didn't see any reason and stuff why we had to be there. Well, the watchword and stuff for that is voting. When you start talking about how you get monies and stuff to build your communities and stuff up, and to the investment that comes into your community, if you don't have a voice in government, you don't get anything. All during this process, even after 2008, when they had this market crash that came up, well, the communities and stuff who voted, who were involved in politics, got the money to continue to build their communities up. When you have our population out there and you walk through their communities and stuff, and you're right, there is no reason in the world and stuff why we shouldn't have some investments and stuff going into our communities or whatever, because those investments create jobs. Those investments and stuff allow corporations or companies and stuff to come in and bring their businesses and stuff in there. But when your infrastructure looks so bad that you cannot, and if I've got $1 billion and I want to invest in that community, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at that community and everything, and I'm going to say, why in the hell would I bring my business and stuff here? Because the employees that I need to staff up this company or whatever are not going to come from this community, because most of the people in the community are uneducated. They haven't gotten themselves together. So, and then you find everybody is down upon them, and they have abandoned them. When your government abandons you, then that is almost like a guy or a woman who was in prison and stuff. The last person they say who is going to write you is your mother. All your friends going to leave you first, and then your mother. Well, the government is like your mother. When the government abandons you and don't invest money and stuff into your area, into your community, then you at the end of your road. So we are not doing the best thing that we can do, and that is to get involved into that political system, because that's where that money is at, to build up your infrastructure and build your community and stuff back up. And once you build that community back up, then you make that community attractive to companies and stuff to come in and to invest more things. I'm going to give you a perfect example of what happened. I own some property in another town and stuff where I live at, and the town is called Union City. It's right next to where my house is in another town. But Union City is mostly a minority community. Well, the movie industry has started to move their movie companies, their media companies and stuff here into the Atlanta, Georgia area. There was a movie company that came in, and they saw a desirable piece of property, which was an abandoned shopping mall that had been sitting there for years and stuff, abandoned. It was decaying. Well, the city council and everything went in and invited them to come in to their community. Well, they had to make a commitment to this company who brought in their media company and stuff to start doing movies and TV shows and all of that. And part of what they had to commit to was to spend some money out of their political coffer to build up their infrastructure, to improve their water lines that are coming inside that huge complex that they were building. And they had to take some and invest money into improving their roads, so their people can get in and out, can have a clean thoroughfare to come inside their property. And once they committed to doing all that for them, then they said, okay, we will now put our media company and stuff here into Union City, which is dominated by mostly people of color who are in charge of majority of the city council. So because they did that, now their media company is sitting there. Well, there's money that's going to be coming back into the community now, because the people who work there are going to have jobs or whatever that's going to happen, and they're going to be able to do something and stuff there. And but they had to make it attractive for these companies to come in. And that's what I mean by getting involved in politics and stuff. You have to make yourself attractive to someone, because nobody's going to be looking at an ugly woman and saying that I want her because she's ugly and she don't put on good clothes and she not all dressed up. Well, that's what you have to do with your city or your town or your community and stuff. You need to dress it up so you make it attractive for other people to come in to invest whatever they have.
Yeah, I think that I just want to piggyback on one of the things that you said regarding, as far as corporations coming into certain communities. And that is the thing, as far as that goes, because when you look at the government has sort of kind of cut people off as far as investing in great schools, you know, going in, tearing down those schools that's been around for 50, 60 years, going in and actually talking to the owners of the homes and buildings as far as renovating or even tearing it down and building another one. Because, I mean, you know, I lived in Chicago for 16 years, and I tell you, some of those houses been around since I was a kid, and I'm old. So you know, those houses been around in the 50s, some of them even in the 40s, and I've even seen some as old as in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is, just think about that. I mean, because if it hasn't been kept up, if it hasn't, the plumbing and all of that stuff hasn't been renovated, and the outside looking modern and what have you, and then also the schooling, those types of things can be a deterrent for corporations to come in, because they're looking at those workers, they're looking at the people, you know, how educated they are. Because really, you know, a college education, you know, there's only certain degrees that are professional.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and, you know, when you go into your master's and all of that, then you specifying in certain things. But basically, a lot of the jobs that can be available is OJP,
Mm-hmm.
on the job training, OJT,
Mm-hmm.
on the job training. And so if you, as long as you can read and you can write a little bit and you got a little, you know, a little math, and you can learn how to do that job for those corporations that really want to invest in certain communities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the issue right now. They'd rather go overseas, build up their infrastructure. You know, Walmart can spend billions of dollars building up China's infrastructure so that they can build a Walmarts over there.
Mm-hmm.
But then still, you got companies that goes overseas and they invest money over there. They invest in the training for the employees over there, but they won't do it for the urban areas.
Mm-hmm.
They won't do it. And now, and it's not because of lack of leadership, because there's a lot of great leaders in every city in this country, you know, and all you have, you know, and I know they're knocking on doors because they're asking for jobs and employ the people, even if that people have to go 20, 30 miles to work.
Mm-hmm.
But they won't come into the city and invest and have a business there to train people and to give them an opportunity for a job. You know, I mean,
Well,
nobody.
we have to speak up, Ted. We have to, and our community out there, we have to open up. And the squeaky wheel gets the grease. You
Yeah.
don't speak up, you're not going to get anything, and that's including anything that's out there in politics, in business, or whatever. You have to be proactive about anything that's going on. If you're not proactive about your house, it's going to fall down. If you're not proactive about educating your children, the education is not going to happen. If you're not proactive about your health care, it is not going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. So we have to open our mouths and start talking. We have to open our mouths and start saying, hey, this is what's needed over here. Now, you might not get everything you want, but you're going to be able to get something. So our community and stuff has to open their mouths up and start saying something and be consistent. And when you open your mouth up, don't just be a reactionary community. When something happens and stuff, you go, and then after a while, it just goes back down. And most of your politicians or whatever and your governmental agency, as far as your state government and all that, they understand that. We are not going to continue to be putting pressure upon the people that we need to put pressure on to get the things that we need.
Yeah.
Don't come in when the TV cameras is on, and then some of the TV cameras leave, then you go away and there's nothing else said.
Right. And see, it's just, you know, I'll take it another step further, and I don't have anything against affirmative action, but the thing is, affirmative action to me has always been a quote. excuse me, a quota system, which to a certain degree is nothing wrong with that, because, you know, if you walk into any corporation, and let me tell you, I worked for 5 Fortune 500 corporations, and when I used to walk through the offices of these corporations, you'd be lucky if you saw a black face, anybody of color. You know, you understand? Because the fact is, there's only maybe 2% or 3% in each one of these large corporations. So what I'm saying is, there's nothing wrong with a quota to a certain degree, because at least those, you know, you're giving people that you normally don't hire a position, making some funds, you know, giving them a job, giving them a career. But at the same time, instead of asking to go to their jobs, what you should be doing, because you're spending all that money, you should be demanding that they put those, the next time they build something, build it in your city, build it in your neighborhood. You know, demanding them to say, look, here, go to the CEO. A lot of these CEOs are very open to a lot of things if you make a commitment to them that, you know, you want to do that. Or nowadays, you know, a lot of people talking about be an entrepreneur, do this, do that. But, you know, to be an entrepreneur, you got to have a product. You can't be, you know, you got to have a product. Be an entrepreneur, you know, you got to make that product yourself. You can't just buy somebody's product and then sell it for profit. You know, make 10 cents on the dollar or 20 cents on the dollar. You know, you still, the person that you buying that product from is the one that's really making the money. You know, unless you're a real entrepreneur and you starting off and you making your own shoes, you making your own shirt from scratch, your own whatever from scratch, that to me is what business is all about. And right now, you know, there's not too many people of color that's doing that in the urban areas. You know, I mean, you got people now, you know, they doing just like Trump doing. You know, they just put their name on it, but somebody overseas is making it. So, you know, that right there is not creating jobs. You know, you might create a few jobs, you know, here and there, but there's nobody really making the stuff that you call yourself putting your name on. You know. So that's the thing.
Well, we have to be diligent and stuff in what we do, and our blog that we put out and what we have on Facebook and all that. We're hoping that our audience comes in and look at what we have to put out there. We have articles that's going to be coming in there talking about money. There are articles and stuff out there now, and there's a huge archive of a lot of articles that we have written to inform our public about following the money.
Absolutely.
And that is the point. We have to be diligent and get that money to understand where it's at and how to get it. And I want to go back to that one more point and stuff about getting involved in the political system. We, our community, have to get out there and get involved in the political system. And like I said about the city over here in Union City and stuff, who invited this media company to come in. Well, like I said, the majority of that board and stuff were black. So there were people and stuff who had decided that they wanted to be get involved in politics. And when they got involved in politics, they were able to navigate through that political waters and business environment and invite a company to come in to spend their money and stuff in their communities. And that's what we have to do. If you don't have people who are your elected officials who are proactive out there, who are helping to take some of those governmental dollars, whether they're in the city government or in the state government or in the federal government, you have to stay on top of your representatives and say, this is what we want, this is what we need, this is what's going to improve our community. And
well,
I remember in the older days and stuff, and people talked a lot about, we lived in Chicago, and I know you remember Richard Daley.
Oh yeah.
And old Daddy Daley, he was the son of a gun. He was a nasty little rascal. But I bet you what, their motto and stuff for the city of Chicago was the city that works.
Yes.
And Daley made daggone sure that his city worked, that everybody in there worked, and they kept those communities clean. I don't care where it was at. They picked the garbage up and they made sure the streets stayed clean, and he kept people out there working at all times, doing all kinds of jobs. And we need to do that in some way or another right now in the 21st century, in the year 2017.
That's right.
That if the government comes in and they put money into your community, and that money and stuff will come back to the government, because you putting people to work, they're going to pay taxes. So that money is going to come back. It's going to come into the community, and it's going to go, part of that money is going to go right back into your federal government coffer, into that Treasury Department. So just because you're saying, well, we're not going to spend money and stuff over there, we're not going to do that because we don't have the money. Yes, you do have the money. You have the money, because if you took that money and used it to spend inside your community, that money is going to come back into your community, because the people in the community are going to buy your products. The people in the community are going to be paying city taxes. They're going to pay state taxes. They're going to pay whatever, and all that money is going to it's going to like run into a cycle. That's dealing in that money connection, how you connect that money up. If the government spends that money, they're going to get part of it back, paying in their taxes or whatever they need to do. And no matter what happens, we can't avoid it. And you have the federal government talking about, well, we're going to cut taxes for all of our business owners. We're going to cut taxes for this. If you're spending all your money giving your tax breaks to a business, well, the business can have the tax breaks, but if they don't have the customers coming in to buy their products, you don't have business.
There you go.
I don't care. I don't care if they don't pay no taxes. If there's nobody buying their products, you're not going to have a business.
Absolutely.
And that's something that we have not been able to articulate, and our representatives are not articulating that out to the people and stuff who are out there. You need to start talking about that. We need to put money here. If you don't, you can't keep on putting money into cutting taxes for business or cutting taxes for rich people. They're not the ones who are keeping your economy flowing. The people who keep your economy flowing are the people who are the ones who are consuming your products.
That's right. Every day.
When Ford Motor Company first came on board and they started mass producing cars, Ford paid their workers a living wage, and then their workers turned around and bought Ford's cars.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You read my
mind.
Kept
Ford in business.
Absolutely.
You can't pay people $7 or $8 an hour and hope that they are going to keep your business flowing when they can't do it, because their overhead is more than $7 or $8 an hour. You have to pay them a minimum, and $15 is nothing nowadays to pay people. They need to be paid more.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So they can buy your products. If they're buying your products, you're going to stay in business. They're not buying your products, I don't care how much tax. You don't have to pay zero taxes. But if nobody is buying your products, you are not going to keep your door open.
Absolutely. Well, look here. We have talked pretty close to an hour. I think
over an hour.
Okay. So I hope our audience sort of is engaged, you know, and we gave them some food for thought. And we like for our audience, those listening to us, you know, whether it's live or whether it's down the road, you know, and you click on and you spend the time to listen to us. We want you to be engaged. We want your input. We would love your input. And we want you to be engaged in the community. A lot of our topics is going to be about just that, talking about different situations, how we can improve our future. A lot of smart young people that's out there, you know, and know what's going on. So we just want to encourage you to be engaged and stay focused. And at this time, you know, like Ed, if you have any last departing words.
No, I don't. I'm just hoping that our viewers will come back, and we will see you all next week at same time, 9 o'clock on Saturday. We'll have
Absolutely.
another live telecast, and if you want to log in there, you're available to chat. Just come in and look at TED Ed TV channel, and there the broadcast will be there, and you have the capabilities of coming in and logging on and doing a chat and everything with us, and we will hopefully answer your questions if we can.
Absolutely. And so until next time,
See you all later.
See you
Bye-bye.
later. Bye.